Good morning. I've listened
Good
before.
morning.
I've never.
One second, Art, sorry. Just to let you know that you do know that you're seen on YouTube live, and it'll be recorded and kept on YouTube forever.
That's
You can turn your
acceptable.
video. You can turn your video off if you feel, but I just feel to tell because it's a different way of doing things today.
Thank you for telling me. I'm not overly concerned, but I appreciate the advisement.
Yeah, and everyone can see your beautiful cat needing something in the background.
Yeah,
very happy. He's like,
she's having an active morning, and I believe getting ready to rest.
oh yeah, so sweet. Sorry. Okay, to your question, I can't help it. It's so cute, the cat.
Thank you. I'm glad I clicked in this morning. I've listened to you in the past, and I appreciate what you have to say. I was speaking online with a friend about a condition that I seem to have, which is, and she was sharing this feeling. She's just a fellow traveler with me, and the feeling of wanting something to be different. And the tools that I've been taught to use are to recognize and see that wanting as this narrative that you've referred to, and tell myself that I'm not that's not me. For me, something that I could term as spiritual growth is the recognition that these things that happen in my mind, a felt sense of wanting something to be different, it's there and it's real, but it's not necessarily good guidance. Or, it may be a feature of the human thinking mind. I call myself Art the action figure. And that's the mind body apparatus that seems to want to listen to that narrative or be guided or informed by it, and recognizing that that's not me. That's just something.
That's something that's appearing. So if we just stop for a moment and go back to the wanting. So the wanting arises. So I separate it out. So the body has a natural desire. So you have a natural desire. The most easy one to understand is like to go to the toilet. You have a natural desire that arises to eat. Eating's a little harder though, because it can sometimes be with addiction. You have a natural desire to get up and move after a certain amount of time, a natural desire to turn on maybe the computer. Some of it might be mixed with seeking, but there is like a natural desire that arises in us. And that's dependent on your conditioning and your genetics. So it's dependent on seemingly everything that's come before, and simultaneously it's appearing spontaneously out of this moment, which is crazy, but that's the way it is. So so you've got that happening, and then you've got seeking that happens. And the seeking part is the belief that the food or the watching this live stream or these things, these wants, will bring you freedom. So it's not inherently desire that's the problem. This is just my way of speaking about it. Other people will use different words. It's the seeking that comes with the desire, and the seeking then attaches you into this body, into consciousness. It kind of, the seeking and the consciousness kind of become one and the same thing, and then it makes it feel like somebody is experiencing this life. It's a weird phenomena that arises. So, and that seeking is very automatic. It's been happening for many years. Mm-hmm. So you're right. So the seeking arises, the desires arrive, even the desires rise, but it's not you. It doesn't mean that you don't act them out or you do act them out. It's just that they're not you. They're an experience happening in you, in this, in who you truly are. So they're arising in this, and they're arising for no one. They're not actually you. Most people take them to be you, to be them, and then it becomes super important to be seen as successful, or to have an amazing car, or to have an amazing house, or whatever it is, because it's seen as them. But none of them are who you are. They are arising in this, and they're totally free, and they're irrelevant. They're only judged in the human sphere of storytelling, of myth making. It's not a thing.
Excellent. Yeah, the way it was explained to me by one teacher is that the problem is my connection with that I'm connected to this idea. Now my cat wants to get involved.
Yeah, of course she does. Yeah, she's like really blissing out. Is it a she or he?
It's actually a he, but I'm not so sure. I moved into this house and he moved in with me. I just pulled up a U-Haul trailer and parked it out front and said, I live here. I didn't go out and get a cat. It got me. Anyhow, it's my attachment to those thoughts, and
Yeah,
and my growth
it's
is the
attachment.
separation from those thoughts. And I listened to a guy called Sam Harris, who's pretty famous, and he does these guided meditations where he invites the person to observe a felt sense or a thought or something like that, and then ask what is looking,
Yeah, exactly.
what's observing it. And he points out very gently that it's not something that's located between my ears or behind my face. It's just this consciousness that's pretty much
Things.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
So
everywhere.
yeah. And there's two things that are happening when you're listening to Sam Harris. There is the intellectual understanding of that. So the mind, the personal awareness, and the thinking mind are recognizing that. They're understanding that. It's being interpreted. So the character understands that. And that in itself is a relief.
Mm-hmm.
But the understanding of that is a relief for the character. And then when he's doing this as well, what else happens, which is the magic, is something is waking up that has seemingly been hidden by the attachment. So something else is being called forward, which is just magic. It's the love affair. It's like something's coming forward. This expansion's happening. There's a seeping out of all these boundaries of what we call ourselves. And there's something that's resonating, or what I would call resonating with that. And that is the freedom. So there's two things that happen in that, and neither are wrong. It's not that wrong understanding with the mind. That's part of it. But then there is something in the background that the person cannot perceive is happening. The only way the person could perceive it is they might feel less contracted. So they might notice, I feel bigger. But like the person can't really register it because you can't see yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, is that it's another thing I've been taught, and it's just sort of a tool. It's a thinking tool, that my true nature is this indwelling spirit, which I somehow connect with just consciousness and nothing else. And it's totally immaterial. That it's not susceptible to a verbal description, or, I can think about it, but that's not it. And what I found is that if I do this as sort of a practice, remind myself that I'm not that I'm something else that's not tangible or visible or anything else, I get this peace, and I get a quiet mind, and it's really interesting because, and I'll wrap up because I see some other hands are up, but I see that I'm in a position in my life right now where I don't have to do a lot, and this stuff crops up that, boy, you better be doing something, and what I'm doing is reminding myself that that's not me, and I don't need to do that, and I get a lot of relief, and I get a quieter mind, and
so what's happening in that, so if I just interrupt you a moment, so what's happening in that is that thought is decreasing the seeking. So then there is an expansion that happens. So that thought isn't actually like bringing you back to who you are, because it can't. That's all in the story. But in the story, when you start telling yourself that, then the person feels more relaxed. So the idea of doing comes up, and then the idea of seeking comes up. So it's like it quickly comes up, and it then contracts. Like the seeking makes the contraction and makes you feel more contracted, because you're saying to yourself, like, there is something that I'm missing. It's very unconscious, and there's something that can kill me and can hurt me. And then in those thinking, like there's nothing I need to do, or reminding of this subject, there is a relaxation in that, and then something else comes forward. So it's not really you getting something, and it's not really you doing something. You believe you're doing something. It's just that this is becoming more present because of the person settling down, but it's not your doing. And that's often the mistake, is the person always thinks it's about me and I've done something. But I'm not criticizing it. Like if that that happens, like, go for it, that's beautiful. But again, and also the thoughts that come up to do that are something that's happening, that's coming from this undivided space.
Mhm.
This beautiful
That's beautifully
space.
said. I thank you for that. My ego wants me to become the spiritual athlete. That I've really accomplished this wonderful set.
And as soon as the person thinks it's got somewhere, then you know that it's the mind, because it's being experienced. So as soon as that comes up, there is something that's experiencing it. So therefore, that cannot be the truth. That's just a thought that comes and goes. So the truth is always silent in a way. It doesn't say anything. It's just here. So it's like, do the walls, does the room, does the silence care whether you as art get something? This moment is just free. And then the mind comes up with, I've got this far, I've not got this far, I'm good, I'm bad. And it's always appearing in this vast emptiness. And this vast emptiness is just watching. It's just experiencing as love. And it doesn't reject or validate or need or not need any of that. That's all floating through like clouds in the sky.
Yeah, non-judgment. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate
Pleasure and art. Lovely to speak with you.
I'm glad I showed up this morning, and I'm going to mute myself and listen, and I think the cat will also.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice. Bye.